Well, hello and welcome to the September issue of the Mover magazine. You see, this time we'd like to be a bit different, and this time we've put a picture of a dog on the front cover, which we don't often do, but we decided to make an exception on this occasion. And it's not just because the dog's nice, but it's because we've written a story about this organisation, Air Pets, in the UK. Now, Air Pets is one of the many moving companies that handle pets exclusively in the UK, and we wanted to write a story about it, not particularly to promote the concept of moving pets. I mean, everybody does that. But because most moving companies, most household moving companies, don't seem to have latched onto the idea that they can also use a company such as this to provide a service to their customers as well, and of course make a commission out of it, which is exactly what this company does, and I'm sure lots of other pet moving companies do too. And so the reason that I've written the story is really just to highlight the fact that if you're not doing that, if you're not using pet shipping as part of your sort of portfolio of services, as it were, you might be missing out. That's what that story's about. So, apart from the fact that it's a nice picture for the front cover. So that's that. There's lots of other things in here, of course, as well, that I'm sure you'd be interested in. What else have we got? There's one here that that you will notice, you remember, in the UK and I think elsewhere in Europe, it was announced recently that the use of internal combustion engines, petrol engines and diesel engines for cars and vans was going to be banned from 2040, and that was headline news not very long ago. But we did a bit of digging into this because we thought this didn't quite work, it didn't quite add up, you know, that it would do that. We thought that was to change everything to electric within 20 years, in effect. We thought there was something that wasn't quite adding up about that. And so we did a little bit of research, and actually that's not quite true, because hybrid vehicles, which we already have now, are not going to be affected in any way. And so if we think that we're all going to be running around in exclusively electric vehicles by 2040, then that's not quite what was said. However, it was presented in such a way that it made you believe that, and I don't think that was unintentional. I think it was that did that on purpose, if you like, to sort of try and panic people into moving towards electric vehicles. Maybe not a bad thing to do, but that isn't the whole truth. So that's what the story here is about. We've got it, and also as well, they didn't specify what they meant by a van. And did they mean an under 3-ton van? Did they mean a car-derived van? Did they mean what is a van exactly? Well, we got in touch with the authorities to find out, and the truth is they don't know either. So anyway, that's why the story's in there, just to highlight the fact that things are not always as they appear to be. There's another one in here as well that I thought you might be interested in. It's a very small story, but it says. Again, this is a UK thing, but I'm sure that these things are mirrored elsewhere in the world as well. Tribunal fees are deemed to be unlawful. You remember a few years ago, 2013-14, I think it was, the government in the UK decided that they would charge people if they wanted to bring a case against their employer for unlawful dismissal. And that was to try to cut down the number of cases that were being brought, and the spurious cases that were being brought. Well, that's now been deemed to be unlawful, and of course the unions are delighted by this, because this is striking a blow for the working man. And that's what the story says. However, of course, it doesn't alter the fact that in the past there was a problem, and there still will now be a problem with people bringing cases that are not necessarily justified because they can do it for nothing. And so for all employers, it's worthwhile watching out for this, because the law has now changed. At one time, before the law was brought in, there were 600,000 outstanding cases. It was completely clogging up the system. It looks like we're back to that situation again now. I did an interview with Nigel Shaw, who is taking up the reins of the CMG in the UK, the commercial wing of the BAR, and he's given us a nice interview to give you an idea of the kind of things that he's planning on doing and the way that he sees the industry. There's also, I don't normally talk about my leader in these little sort of interviews here, but I thought I would this time. I've called it "And the Price Is Only." I'm talking about salesmanship, about selling, and there's a change in the industry now that because of technology, we are now in control of much more of the information that we need to be able to put a quote together. And it wasn't all that long ago. I mean, when I was doing that, when I was going around people's houses and giving quotes for moving overseas, that if the destination was in any way difficult, it was you couldn't always give a quote immediately because you needed to send faxes and things to find out rates. And of course, nowadays we don't have to worry about that, and so there is now no excuse at all for not producing a quotation in the home. And yet, I suspect there are a great many people who are still reluctant to do that. And I remember years ago when I used to do some training for sales training, that people used to say, "Oh, you can't possibly do that. That's just high pressure selling. That's making us like double glazing salesmen, and people won't respect us." Well, I disagreed then, and I disagree now. I think that is the fundamental of salesmanship. If you don't give the customer a proposition, then you're not in a position to sell to them at all. And this new technology that is coming in now is allowing people to do that again. Now the question is, do the people that are going out on the road doing the surveys have the ability to do the selling too? I don't know, but I think we need to make sure that they have, because the world has once again changed. Anyway, interesting stuff. There's loads in here that I'm sure you'll enjoy, and read it and enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.